Someone from the early days, from the era of the Sahaba, went to Sham, to Syro-Palestine. And there he saw a young man who was seated, and around him were seated the great people, the Sahaba, and learned people of that time. And whenever an issue arose, they would consult with him. And when he would give an answer, they would agree on his answer and act accordingly. So he asked around, said, "Who is this man?" So he was told that this is Mu'adh ibn Jabal, the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mu'adh radiallahu anhu was just a young boy when he accepted Islam. And he was from the first people to come to Mecca from Medina and accept Islam at the hands of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then he took it upon himself to stay in the company of the Prophet alaihi salatu wasallam and learn from him as much as he possibly could. And people will come to deen and the knowledge of deen with varying levels of ability, with varying aptitudes. And some people will take huge amounts, they will absorb everything. And other people will take lesser amounts. Mu'adh radiallahu anhu was one of those people who absorbed a great deal of knowledge from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a very short period of time. In fact, in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's own lifetime, he alayhi salatu wasalam announced that from all my companions, the one who has the most knowledge about halal and haram is Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ himself appointed Mu'adh as the governor and the judge, the Mufti, and his own representative to Yemen. And the Prophet ﷺ himself walked with him out of Medina, even though Mu'adh radiallahu anhu found it very awkward that I'm seated on my animal and the Prophet ﷺ is walking. But Nabi ﷺ walked with him. He walked him long out of Medina, giving him advices. And one of those, during that conversation, he asked him, "So how are you going to make your decisions, O Mu'adh?" So he said, "I'm going to make my decisions based on the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." So the Prophet ﷺ asked him, "Then what if such an issue arises that you don't find it mentioned in the Quran? It's not clearly mentioned." He said, "Then I will look to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam." Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, "What if you don't find a clear answer in the sunnah?" Then he said, "I will use my ijtihad. I will put what I understand from Quran and what I understand from hadith together, and I will form a conclusion based on this." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam praised Allah and glorified him for having given Mu'adh radiallahu anhu that understanding. And then he also told him that, "Mu'adh, it's quite possible that when you come back, the next time you come back to Medina, you will not find me here, rather you'll find my grave here." And Mu'adh radiallahu anhu cried a lot, and that's exactly what happened. When Mu'adh radiallahu anhu came back, the Prophet ﷺ had left this world. So at a young age, these people achieved great heights of knowledge, of practice, of wisdom. And can you imagine how much confidence the Prophet ﷺ would have had in this young man to appoint him as governor and ruler and judge and teacher of an entire nation? So it goes to tell us that there is much more that we can actually achieve than sometimes we allow ourselves to believe. There is a great deal more than we can get out of our lives than sometimes we allow ourselves. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to walk in the footsteps of those people and also become like them. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين.